I have received copious emails from viewers saying, David, is there any scenario in which the judge may just have to imprison Donald Trump when he imposes a sentence on July 11th? The answer is sure. There is a scenario in which it may be obvious that the judge's right action would be to impose impose a prison sentence on Donald Trump. But the judge doesn't have to do anything, but using the terms of sentencing guidelines and historical tradition, it's conceivable that there is a situation where it is what the judge should do. So let's discuss this. What would be the points against Trump getting prison as part of these 34 guilty felony counts, bearing in mind that the range here could go anywhere from probation, meaning no prison time whatsoever, all the way up to 4 years? Well, the points against giving Trump any prison time would be he's a first-time offender. I know it's crazy. He's been doing a lot of these things, overvaluing, undervaluing, fraud, but as far as a criminal conviction, he is a first-time offender. That's what it is. He may soon be a second-time offender and maybe third, depending on what happens in the next trials, but he is a first-time offender, at least for the time being. He's in his 70s, and sometimes, listen, age can be used as a consideration when it comes to sentencing. Commonly, for a single instance of FBR, meaning falsifying business records, that's what Trump's been convicted of in 34 counts. Sometimes for a single count of FBR, probation is the punishment, the sentence that is imposed. So there are certainly some points there which would say no prison time for the convicted felon, failed former president, Donald Trump. Now, what about the other side of the argument? What about the side of the argument that would say, hey, you know what? It would make sense that this guy get prison if later the sentence is suspended or it's held in some kind of secure facility or whatever. Okay, we look at that later, but there is a case to be made. Number one, we're not talking about one count. We're talking about 34. Now, the counter to that is these all stack. So it would be time served concurrently. It wouldn't be sequential. So yes, convicted on 34, but because of the law, they stack and whatever penalty there is would be served concurrently. But needless to say, these are 34 counts, not a single count. Number two, zero remorse. Zero remorse. Judges can and do use whether the convicted felon is remorseful and whether they are owning up to their misdeeds in considering what the sentencing should be. And Trump's disrespect to the court through falling asleep and lashing out at members of the jury during the jury selection process and all of it. And then every single day on his way into court and on his way out of court and online on social media, attacking the judge and attacking the process and saying the judge is essentially a puppet of the political system. Zero remorse, and in fact, quite the opposite. That would be an aggravating factor for potentially a prison sentence. Number three, Trump convicted crimes related to our democracy. And I saw a really good interview that Norm Eisen did with our friend Brian Tyler Cohen. And what Norm Eisen said, which I think is quite interesting, is that I don't know if I would call it impetus or desire or duty to hold Trump's autocracy in check may lead a judge to say, you know what, I have to impose prison here. It's the only way to support democracy and to keep autocracy in check. Now, some might say, oh, that's not for the judge to decide when it comes to sentencing. No, judges have significant leeway in what they use to evaluate what an appropriate sentence will be. So this truly will be up to the judge. I think the judge overall has been quite fair, but has also given Donald Trump significant leniency and leeway so far, particularly as we've seen with regard to the gag orders. Many other people, if they weren't elites and former presidents, after violating gag orders multiple times, it wouldn't be just $1,000 fine each time. At a certain point, it would be, I'm holding you for the violation of the gag order. You're going to spend a weekend, you're going to spend a night in jail. And the judge didn't do that. So at least we have some evidence that instead of being this Trump hating, go get him at every opportunity judge, which is what Trump claims he has been, Judge Merchan has actually given quite a bit of leeway and leniency here. So could we have a situation where the judge feels, I have no choice, I have to give this guy prison? Yes, we could have a situation. Do I think that such a situation is particularly likely? I really don't. I really don't. It is time to start thinking like voters and to make sure that kids understand the importance of voting, how it works, registering, ballot initiatives, because so many kids just have no idea. That's why I wrote the new children's book, Think Like a Voter. I can think of no better time and no more important group of folks to try to reach. The book is now available at davidpakman.com/book, where, by the way, you can get the first 2 books in the series as well. Think Like a Detective and Think Like a Scientist. Really important stuff. Donate them to local libraries, classrooms, read them with the kids. davidpakman.com/book.